Hey, how's it going everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about the movie Dumbo from 1941, which was Disney's fourth ever feature-length animated movie. And if you hear any noise in the background, it's the 4th of July and I'm trying to work around that. But anyway, Dumbo is kind of an icon, and I know a lot of people don't really think about Dumbo that often, but Dumbo has made appearances in a lot of different places, everywhere from Who Framed Roger Rabbit to The Great Mouse Detective. Dumbo is one of those movies that I definitely saw as a kid at least once, but probably multiple times. I haven't seen it in at least 10 to 15 years, so I kind of forgot everything about the movie in terms of plot. And in a way, that was to my own detriment, because I was not expecting to get mad watching this movie. I forgot that Dumbo's mom gets taken away and locked up because originally a snot-nosed little kid was literally yanking on Dumbo's ears and trying to pull him around. That actually upset me. Justice for Miss Jumbo. I had also apparently wiped the entirety of the pink elephant sequence from my memory, and I can kind of see why, because knowing myself and seeing this sequence again, it probably freaked me out as a kid. Now, I understand that 1941 was a very long time ago, and so it kind of makes sense in a way that today's youth or people that are growing up now or in recent years haven't seen movies like this. I feel like they're not being watched as much by people growing up. But on the flip side of that, 1941 was still a long time ago whenever I was growing up. But still, that said, I feel like this is one of those movies that is just kind of fading a little bit in the eye of society. And it kind of makes me sad for a couple reasons, because number one, I love movies, I love TV, I love the arts in general, I guess, even though that makes me sound like a snob. I promise it's not like that. But also because this movie is part of what shaped my childhood, amongst many others. And so it makes me sad to know that this movie isn't quite, to the level of popularity that it once was, even like 20 years ago. But all that rambling aside, this movie is going to continue to live on in its importance and in its significance to film and film history. Frank Churchill and Oliver Wallace won the Oscar in 1942 for the best scoring of a musical picture. So Dumbo is an Oscar winner. It will continue to live on through that at the very least, but Dumbo is a more significant movie than that. There's a lot more about it that will help it be remembered. There are a lot of movies throughout the history of the Walt Disney Company that can be called the movie that saved them, but this is the very first one. When Dumbo was being made, Walt Disney was hoping for a financial box office success because Pinocchio and Fantasia failed to bring in money at the box office. Fortunately for Disney, this was the lowest budget they assigned to any of their feature-length movies, and it saw the highest box office success out of any movie in the 1940s. And also, to clarify before anyone gets up in arms about what I just said, I'm talking about specifically Disney movies in the 1940s, and I'm talking about the original box office release, not re-releases, because a lot of Disney movies have been re-released time after time, and the financial side of everything has been skewed greatly. The financial success of Dumbo's original release can be attributed to a few different things. Of course, there's what I already mentioned, which was that it was a very low budget, and so it was a lower risk than some of the previous movies like Pinocchio and Fantasia. And also, something that didn't necessarily work in Dumbo's favor at all, but did even the playing field with movies like Pinocchio and Fantasia, is World War II. The logistics of showing different movies in different parts of the world was very much a nightmare, kind of like the rest of the world at the time, and so that's just something to keep in mind when thinking about the financials for movies at the time. And speaking of World War II, a crazy little tidbit about Dumbo is that Time magazine had an idea to name Dumbo Mammal of the Year, but then the attack on Pearl Harbor happened and they canceled those plans. So even though Dumbo was never named Mammal of the Year, he did have a little mention in Time magazine in that particular issue. I had no idea about any of that until I was doing a little bit of research for this movie, and so I just thought that was a very interesting fact. Dumbo as a movie was a first for quite a few things. Later in the century, it was the first Disney animated film to release on video cassette, if you're old enough to know what that is. It also just so happens to be the first Disney animated feature film to be set in the United States, which doesn't really sound like much, but when you think about it, there aren't that many, even today, out of all the Disney movies that exist. I'm talking about classic Disney movies, not Pixar, etc., not the big umbrella of Disney, but regular Disney animated movies, there still aren't that many that are set in the United States. Something that isn't really a first for the movie Dumbo, but something significant in the history of Disney nonetheless, is that Dumbo is the only main protagonist and title character of a Disney animated movie that never says a word of dialogue. He didn't even have a voice actor. And yes, I know there are some sound effects associated with the character of Dumbo, but he didn't have a traditional voice actor in the sense that you would think about. I think another thing that makes Dumbo as iconic as it is, and as historically significant as it turned out to be, is that this movie is quite old and it holds up really well in its quality. I would say that the only caveat there to how great this movie holds up is its portrayal of African Americans. That's something that's generated quite a bit of conversation, quite a bit of controversy over the years, and it's something that's kind of followed the legacy of Dumbo for quite a while now. I know that there's not really any overwhelming consensus as to whether or not it's an offensive portrayal, but it's something that people have a lot of poignant opinions on. And now, whether you're in the camp of this is offensive, this isn't offensive, your reasonings behind it can be what they are. Either way, having controversy in your legacy isn't something that you want. And so that's something that's kind of going to haunt this movie for years to come. I know that's a little bit of a dour way to end this review, but it feels disingenuous to not bring it up when that's something that is an important piece of conversation surrounding this movie. And so if we're talking about the impact of Dumbo and its history and important details about it, it felt wrong to not bring it up. But nevertheless, that's all I've got to say for now about the movie Dumbo from 1941. Is this one of the movies that you grew up with? Is this one of the ones that kind of just felt like an older movie and you never really got around to watching it? Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, if you want to help me out here on YouTube, liking this video, commenting on this video, subscribing to the channel, or checking out some of my other videos, all help me grow the YouTube channel. I've done some other classic animated Disney movies, other animated movies in general, as well as TV, a little bit of gaming, this, that, and the other. I'm kind of on an animated movie run right now. It's not something I ever anticipated, but the animated movies have been doing a little bit better on the channel than some other things, and so I'm kind of just keeping the ball rolling a little bit. But yeah, until next time, bye.